How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to have a look at a program which will help us develop our 3D models, and that's called 123Design. So on your desktop, you'll find a program, 123Design. Looks like a little triangle. Double click that to open it. You'll get a welcome screen. You just need to close that. You don't need to worry about it. So you should get a screen that looks like this. And the first step we want to do is be able to move our camera, so changing our viewing um, platform. So at the moment we've got a bit of an angle. If you right click and drag, you'll get a different perspective. Okay, it's quite useful as we move along. Up in the top right hand corner, you'll notice a cube that rotates as you move the screen. Alright, so at the moment we're looking at that perspective. Alright, we can actually tap on these faces of the cube. So left, we'll choose the left-hand view of the plane. If we move down, it's the top. Okay, all these different, the back, right, etc. So quite useful sometimes just to change the viewing perspective. So if you click on the little home button there, you'll go back to the start. You can also move left and right and up and down by clicking on the scroll button on your mouse. So click and hold, and then you can move it around. Okay, also quite useful sometimes. Up the top here is all our tools that we will be using. We won't be using them all to start with, but at the moment we want to find this one that says primitives. This is the tool that will create all our objects, probably the one that we use the most. So you can see we've got a box, a sphere, cylinder, cone, torus, wedge, prisms, pyramids, and hemispheres. So lots of different objects. You can also see we've got a couple of 2D objects as well. We don't use those a lot. First one we want is a box. So if you left click on that, okay, and you can see a box gets created. Now I haven't specified what length I want the box. And you can see down the bottom we've got length, width, and height. Now I might want this box to be 40 length, and I want the width to be 40 as well. So if I click the tab, okay, tap 40, and the height, I actually wanted a cube, so I'm going to put 40 again as well. Alright, and before I place it, I just need to select where I want to put it. So over here is fine, doesn't really matter at the moment. Alright, so I can scroll in and out using the scroll button on the mouse and using my rotation. Okay, and I can move it up and down using the middle button. Okay, so quite useful in that regard. So next one I want to do is maybe create a cylinder. So if I go up and click a cylinder, this time it says radius and height. Now my radius is the length from the edge of the circle to the middle of the circle. Okay, we might want a length from one side of the circle to the other as maybe a 10. Okay, but the radius would be half of that, so half of 10, the radius would be 5. So if I tap 5, and that will be created. And I can change the height, I'll just leave it as 20 for now. And left click to create that object. Alright, so 2 objects created. The next step I might want to do is actually put this cylinder on top of the box. Now I could left click, if I left click and drag it around, okay, I can move it, but I can't at the moment put it on top of the box. Not exactly. But there is a tool that is really quick and easy to help us do that, and that's this little magnet up the top. It says snap. So if I click on that, I want to tap on the top surface of the cylinder. So left click, and I want to snap it onto the top of the box. So you can see that it's highlighted. Okay, left click on that, and it jumps up to the top for us, which is really useful. Right, it's also useful because it actually puts it in the exact center of that um, uh, the box, basically. You'll also notice that we've got an arrow and another circle created. The arrow, if I tap it and move it down, will actually put it into the box. Okay, I can put it right in the middle. All right, I can also move it up so it's floating above the box. Okay, and you can see on the edge this measurement tab. Okay, if I move it down, it actually puts it into the box by 1 millimeter, and then 2 and 3 and 5, etc. You'll notice that there's a negative. Okay, that's because we're going down into the box. Okay, and if we go up above the box, we get positive numbers. Okay, and 0 is where it's sitting flush on top of the box. Alright, that'll be useful later on. And this little swivel button, okay, if I click on that, I can actually rotate the cylinder. It's a bit hard to notice on the cylinder because it is circle anyway, but sometimes we want to rotate the angle that it's sitting on. Don't worry too much about that at the moment. Left click outside anywhere just to close that tool. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my cylinder on top of the box. Now, the only problem is if I wanted to move both of those objects at the same time, I won't be able to do that. So if I left click on the square, the cube, right, and I move it across, you can see the cylinder stays where it is. Not that useful. Okay, so I need another tool to combine the two objects together. So I'm just going to undo my movement up in the top here. So undo, so it's still in the center for us. Now go up the top and you'll find a tab that says grouping. The first one we want is group. So click on that, and I want to tap the two objects I want to group together. And you can see that they get highlighted. And when I've highlighted all the objects I need, just click enter, and that will combine them together. So this time, when I move my square, the cylinder gets moved as well. Okay, so quite useful. Now, if you do that and you decide later on that you don't want them fixed together, you can then ungroup them. So back up to grouping. Before we said group, group, and now we want ungroup. So I'm going to ungroup these objects. So you can see they get highlighted, click enter, and they get ungrouped. So this time, when I move the square, it's ungrouped. Okay. There's only one more thing I'll need to go through, and that's measurement. So let's say we created lots of objects and we forget what our lengths are for the cube. Now, I'll tell you we started with 40, 40, 40. Okay, so let's just check that they stay like that. So if you tap on this button up here, it's a measurement. It's a little ruler. So click on that, and I want to measure the length of the base to the top. So click the base. You can see it gets highlighted again, and the top. Okay, that gets highlighted as well. So you can see this little arrow on the side here. And if we scroll down, we can see that that distance from number 1, that length, to number 2 is 40. And that's what we started with. So that's good. However, I might be interested how far from the edge the cylinder is on top. Okay, so if I can actually work out that. So again, measurement, I want the edge of the cube to the edge of the cylinder. Again, you can see they get highlighted and an arrow gets drawn between them. Now up to your little table thing up here. So the distance is 15 from the edge to the edge. So quite useful tools. So I'm just going to leave it there for now. They're the basic uh, tools that we'll be using to start with. So going to leave the video here. Just have a quick little play around creating objects and moving them around, grouping, ungrouping, etc. Thanks for watching.